So guys, this is my weekly report for September 14th. Last week I messed up. I forgot what month we were in, but this is for September 14th. I didn't do a whole lot this week. I had too much chores around the house to do and too many things to fix. But anyway, I went to the Delta again and we caught some stripers. They're starting to show up a little bit more. And we caught a lot of bass and we caught them all punching. So Denise and Jennifer, they did a real good job. They looked like they knew what they were doing. We probably punched over 25 or 30 fish, but it was a pretty good trip. But anyway, the stuff that's going on around here, the hottest thing has been the albacore. Everybody's headed to Fort Bragg. That's where the fish are the closest, but they're not close. So you're going to be going anywhere from 30 miles to 50 miles out. One thing about albacore is you got to watch the water temperature. So you could go on some of these websites, NOAA, and you could see where the water temperature is and which direction it's going, whether it's going inshore or going away, and make your judgment whether you want to go, because sometimes, you know, that in one night that water could go 20 miles, and that's a long ways when you drive that far. But the thing they're doing is trolling cedar plugs and zookers. They're running a boat line. You know, you hook one on that boat line and just drag him around till he dies before you try pulling him in so you don't get hurt. Usually you're going to troll around 7 miles an hour. Run them zookers on a second wave, third wave, fourth wave. Guys have their system, but you want that zooker or that cedar plug bouncing right off the backside of those waves that, you know, are coming off of your boat. But they've been catching good numbers. Lately the size has been getting a little bit smaller. I noticed that the guys are going further out. I have some friends that went 70 miles out and they were into fish that were in that 20 to 30 pound range. But the guys that are staying close in that 30 mile are getting a lot of peanuts. You know, those are the little guys like this. So, you know, if you want big ones, you got to go out a little bit further. And other things going on is, you know, everybody's been so hot about bluefin. You know, a couple months ago they were here really in big numbers. We really don't know a whole lot about them, so, you know, they might be sounding a little bit deeper, because when everybody's trolling Mad Maxes, you're trolling right on the surface. You're not fishing for them deep. So there's a lot to learn. You know, there's a lot of guys, well, not a lot, there's a few guys out there experimenting. So, you know, we don't have access to like live mackerel or sardines. You know, we're using little anchovies, so it's a little bit more difficult chasing a 100 to 200 pound fish with a little anchovy. So everybody puts that Mad Max on and trolls, but it's been a little off and on. And I would say more off than on. So a lot of guys will give up. They'll go out and do the rock cod fishing, because the rock cod fishing has been just off the hook. So if you get out there past Cordell or the Fairlawns and get out there in that 300 plus feet of water, the ling cods are very plentiful. I know Rick Powers has been going out there, James Smith has been going out there, and they're loading the boat. You know, I mean, guys are limiting on rockfish. You know, you're going to have a heavy sack. You're going to have a couple lingcots that are in that 12 to 25 pound range, and you're going to have a bag load of 10 rockfish that are in that 2 to 8 pound range. So you're going to come back with a big bag. So the rock fishing out there is really good. The inland stuff, the shallow water rock season is already closed. Don't forget, you can't fish. You have to be in 300 feet or deeper to fish for the bottom fish. So other things going on out there is still is the halibut. It's still been pretty decent. I'm sure the guys are getting them outside the gate, however, on the north bar when the weather permits. But they're still catching them in the bay. Alcatraz Island's been really good, you know, and it's kind of like a hit and miss. You got to hit the right tide. If you get fast tides, this halibut seem to hunker down more. They don't feed as much. They like the slower tides. And the bait receiver's still open, but you know, they're going to close here one day pretty soon. So I would always call and check and make sure that, you know, you could still get the live bait. So over there on Pier 37, you can still get live anchovies. So other than that, we're coming a little closer. I know there's some guys like Gatecrashers still chasing some sturgeon. I think Steve Mitchell's been going after sturgeon here and there, and they're still catching a lot of fish. So there's a lot of sturgeon in the system. You know that they're going to be coming out with a new law here pretty soon, and you know we haven't heard anything yet, but just word out is that it's going to be catch and release. But as of right now, they haven't done the meeting yet, so we won't know for sure probably until next coming month or so. But I hear that when they decide what they're going to do, that's going to be probably this year that it'll come into effect. So keep an eye out for that sturgeon just in case. So you go to your local tackle store, you could always ask them and see if sturgeon season's still like it is or changed. So other things in the bay, I hear some white bass, sea bass being caught. This year has been kind of a little bit scarce. You know, they are a scarce fish. Monterey, I heard they're catching them. But here, you know, they're picking up a few in the bay. So, you know, you're out there drifting halibut and you hook something and it just screams out line like 100 yards nonstop. It's probably a sea bass. So they are catching some in the bay. There's been reports of a few, you know, being caught. Stripers, there's also some being caught in the bay. But I think majority of those fish, they've moved inside. They've come in closer to Rio Vista. So right now I heard from the Antioch Bridge out to Winter Island, Broad Slough, the West Bank has all been producing a lot of stripers. Guys are catching them, trolling deep water yozeris, predators, rebels. Some guys are trolling fish traps, and a lot of guys are spooning. So there's a lot of fish, and they're gonna hang around in these areas for months. So they'll usually come in the delta. They'll hang around there in October, November, December, January. So they spend the bulk of the fall and the winter in the delta. They're going to start moving into Frank's Track. They'll move into Liberty. They'll start going into all the flooded islands like Sherman, Big Break. And that's when I like to go get them because I can catch some big fish cruising in them shallow flats where they're feeding on squawfish. So that's happening right now. The fish are starting to move in. I've been in Liberty and the fish aren't that big. You know, once in a while I'll get one around 7 or 8 pounds, but majority of them around, you know, 20 to 22, 23 inches. But they'll be here pretty soon. As soon as we get some cooler weather, water temperature drop, look out for them stripers. They're catching them in the American, but those are the local yokels that live there all the time. But there's been some big ones caught, and they're getting them on glide baits. Even people are catching them on anchovies and stuff, but those are more of the schoolie type fish. But there's good striper action in the area, so you know if there's something that you want to do, you could go after stripers. New Hogan, stripers are coming to the surface over there already. I remember back in the days I used to bass fish over there, and I would see like whitecaps on a calm day and go out there and throw, you know, topwater lures that are in that 4 to 6 inch range and just catch as many as you can till your arms get tired. But through the years, they've gotten smarter. So you're gonna see these boils come to the surface. You have to use smaller stuff. So you're gonna use topwater lures that are only like 3 inches, maybe 4 inches long. You're gonna go to the baby flukes, which are small. And I would like do that 2, where I run a leader about 3 feet, run a fluke, put a 3-way swivel, run another dropper about maybe a foot, put another fluke, and then cast it out and twitch it. And you'll probably do really well doing that technique, or small topwater. Or you could throw, a lot of guys will throw rotaries and spin the shad, you know, and spin it, and they'll also catch a lot of stripers. Other than that, kokanee season's about coming to an end, but they're still catching them. I think one of the better lakes right now to go to is Stampede or Whiskey Town. I know New Malone is still catching some big fish, but you're gonna fish all day and maybe get 4 or 5, but they're really good sized fish. Last week I went up to the Bowler's Bar a lot of those fish are in the creeks, all the way up on top, way back in the creeks, and they're already turning. I mean, they're pretty ugly looking. So kokanee fishing, you know, about that time of the year when those fish start spawning, and you know, it's kind of ending. Parties close. It closed early, so don't go up there. It won't open back up until February. Um, Trout fishing. Usually the high Sierra lakes are really good this time of the year, and Big Nate's been going to Comanche and Berryessa. He's been catching a lot, and a lot of nice ones, and most of the time he's pulling the speedy shiners or Rapalas or something in that 40 to 50 foot depth range. I was gonna head up to Berryessa this week, but you know, when he's telling me they're that deep, I'm gonna have a little trouble in the bass boat. So, you know, I opted not to go. I'm gonna wait till it starts cooling off, water temperature drops, and then I do a lot of speed trolling in my bass boat, you know, trolling around 2.25 with electric motor, and then just top lining a Rapala and catching nice ones. I mean, you know, one year we were catching them up to 5 pounds. And those are those Eagle Lake trout. So the trout fishing's still pretty good. You could pretty much go to any of the lakes up in the Sierras and actually do pretty good. Landlocked kings. It's a little bit slow. Normally people would be catching them this time of the year. Kevin Fogel, who's one of the best king fishermen for the landlocks that I know around here, he's even been having trouble. He's been going to Folsom because it's right where he lives, and he's been telling me he's getting a couple hits, you know, and catching bass and squawfish and other things, but it's not happening yet. But it will here. I think when the weather changes, starts cooling off a little bit, I think then you're going to start seeing more good reports on the landlocked kings. Berryessa, I can't wait. I hope this year it turns over like it normally should, and then I'll be going after them kings, because when that lake turns, those fish will come to the surface. And you know, a few years ago I was slaughtering them things anywhere from 10 to 30 feet, you know, using my technique with the Gets It. Those videos are still available. You could just go back on YouTube, look up those videos, and watch them. I've did a lot of explaining and how to do it, and you know, you can catch them. That's a deadly way of catching them. When I think it's been probably like 4 years ago when I took Roy Gray, who's my owner and Scotty rep, and took him up to Berryessa and showed him exactly how I was doing it, and we had a phenomenal day. I mean, we probably caught 20 or 30 of those things, and it was unbelievable how you do it with a Gets It, because you're just mooching it, you're not moving it, you just hold your rod, they come up and hit it, and there's a technique, because when they hit it, they come up towards you and your line goes slack. So check out that video, because it should be happening here pretty soon. Okay, on Saturdays, if you're on your way out fishing and you're in a truck, 6:30 in the morning, tune on 1140 on AM dial, the California Sportsman's. I'm on there every Saturday at 6:40, and then every Saturday at the beginning of the month, I'm in the studio with Kent and Sept, talking to all the guides and answering a lot of questions on, you know, what I know about what's going on in the area. So if you like this video, hit that like, please subscribe, and if you want to leave me a comment, click that button, and I'll usually get back to you within 2 or 3 days. And I'll see you guys next week. Good luck.